Alright, so back to the recap. So, at some point in time, we don't know why, we don't know how, Baby Mario starts becoming tormented by this weird fey imp creature in his dreams that takes on his appearance and calls itself Wario. We don't know exactly when this happens. I don't know whether this is before or after Baby Mario starts time traveling, because that's also a thing that happens. Baby Mario comes unstuck in time for a bit.
We'll talk about that when we get to it.
At some point in time, we will learn a bit more about the time travel shenanigans. That's in a later game, and I'm really looking forward to seeing if that explains anything going on with this. Point is, Baby Mario, during his infancy, somehow ended up time traveling and wound up playing sports mostly with his future self as an adult and all of his friends. So, that happened. And also at some point during Mario's childhood, he starts, becoming tormented by Wario. Now, this was something that I had been thinking of, that I was wondering whether Baby Mario is being tormented by Wario, whether that starts before or after the time travel. Because if it's after the time travel, then Baby Mario met Wario in the future first. And could that perhaps have been the seed that created Wario in the past in Baby Mario's mind?
You're looking at me as if I was going to have an answer to this.
I'm looking at you as to see if you have any reaction. This is something I'm throwing out here. I'm not sure about.
Well, we'll find out, for sure.
So that's a possibility that is interesting, that Wario's existence may have defined itself and created itself and caused itself. So, anyway, at this point, some point in time, Mario and Luigi leave the Mushroom Kingdom, because that's where their parents were, that's where they were delivered by the stork. But at some point in time, they leave the Mushroom Kingdom. The next thing that we know for certain is that they're adults living in New York City. So we do not know what happens during that big gap of time. At least not with Mario and Luigi. We do know what happens with Bowser and Yoshi's. Bowser, as an adult, returns from the moon. He reclaims his kingdom, and he goes after the Yoshis. The Yoshis have been the bane of his life so far. So he goes after them. He conquers Yoshi's Island with enchantment magic. He enchants all of the Yoshis and their friends and bends them to his will, except one Yoshi that resists the magic. And this is probably Yoshi the Yoshi named Yoshi. It's not called out explicitly, but it's probably Yoshi the Yoshi named Yoshi who resists the enchantment, who then fights all of his friends to free them from the enchantment and marches through and slays all of Bowser's forces again. So this is where Hookbill the Koopa comes back. I don't think he's enchanted anymore. He's just lived long enough to become huge naturally. But he doesn't live any longer because the Yoshis fucking murder him at this point. He is dead. Kamek almost dies. He throws his toadies in the way to die in his place and teleports out. Bowser does die. This is the first time that we see Bowser die.
Which game is this?
This is Tetris Attack.
Okay, continue.
So Bowser is killed and at some point in the near future revived by Kamek, because they can just do that. There's something the Koopa Kingdom can do. So that's all that goes on with Bowser. So now back to Mario. By which I mean now to the Kongs. Because we have to talk about the Kong family.
Yeah.
So, the Kong family is a global interdimensional criminal syndicate of primates.
I'm not sure how interdimensional they are.
Well, at least not how interdimensional they were. We don't know whether this was their first incursion onto Earth, or whether they'd been there before. Point is, they're this big crime syndicate of primates that rule the Congo jungle. That's Congo with a K, not with a C. This is a jungle in the mushroom world. And they are at eternal war, probably with the Kremlings, crocodiles, another syndicate of some sort. So there's Kongs. And they are headed by... The head of the Kong family is known as Donkey Kong. This is a title that is passed down. Donkey may or may not mean something in Kong language. It might just be a coincidence. It might be something...
I would like to propose that it is actually a disambiguation of Don and Key. You see, Donkey is the Don of the family and also the key member of the family.
Aha, okay, yeah. So the Don of the Kong Mafia, Donkey Kong.
Yeah,
okay.
Donkey is a title, you see.
So, the current Donkey Kong, he's a very powerful, very successful Kong. He's got a family, he's got at least 2 kids, at least 1 grandkid. He's been running the family and things are going fine as far as we're aware. For some reason, we don't know why, we don't know how, he ends up in New York City. Maybe he was exploring and found a warp from the Mushroom World into through the New York sewers. Maybe he wound up through the warp in the Antarctic that we'll talk about later.
I would like to suggest, again, that it is similar to the happenings of what we call King Kong here on Earth. Related to this Dawn of the Kongs. They just remove the donkey part and replace it with King Kong and made a dramatization of these events.
We do know that King Kong exists in this continuity. It has been explicitly said that King Kong belongs on the Empire State Building.
Yes.
So maybe, here's an idea. Maybe news of this King Kong got from Earth back to the Mushroom World, back to the Kong family, who take it as an insult. Who is this gorilla who calls himself King of the Kongs? We need to do something about that. We gotta find this guy and, show him what's what. So the Donkey Kong comes to New York City looking for the King Kong, doesn't find him, and for some reason decides to kidnap a woman. Again, not sure why. Maybe he's just trying to show his own strength to the humans here. Maybe he's just bored and does it for fun. I don't know.
I would like to think that it is a misinterpretation of the King Kong mythos, that clearly the way to draw out this King Kong is to kidnap a lady and climb a building.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I see, yeah. So, one way or another, one reason or another, Donkey Kong kidnaps a woman named Pauline and climbs up this under-construction skyscraper. This under-construction skyscraper where little Mario is working. So, here we have Mario, the Mario that we know, is a carpenter working as on this construction site on this building, and this gorilla shows up with a kidnapped woman, and Mario, being a naturally born hero...
We know this, it's mystic and prophesized.
Exactly. So he decides that he needs to rescue this woman. And so, his heroic instincts kicks in. He climbs up the tower, dodging all of the barrels that the Donkey Kong is throwing at him, and all of the other hazards and fire and such. And
semi-sentient fire and electricity
and makes it up and drops Donkey Kong from the building by deconstructing part of it. And manages to save the girl. And everything's great. Except it's not great, because this is kind of a big spectacle. And it's a big spectacle of a construction worker climbing a build site without wearing proper protective equipment. Mario was not wearing his helmet.
It's true.
And, maybe he had trouble with this in the past. Maybe this was just the first time, but it was such a big thing that it was, it was an immediate big problem. One way or another, Mario got fired for this incident. it kind of brought OSHA down on his employer that, you know, his worker is clearly not following proper safety regulations. Are there even proper safety regulations being followed by anyone at this work site, you know? So they had this whole thing going on. So Mario is fired. So Mario is confused and angry because, you know, he's being a hero. He did the right thing. He always works hard, and he knows that he's doing right, and all he got for it is unemployment. No reward, no anything.
A monkey.
And a gorilla. All he has to his name now is a gorilla. So he takes this gorilla, cages it up, and flees to some jungle somewhere, and starts trying to train this gorilla to do his evil bidding. Mario becomes a bit of a supervillain.
It's kind of a... yeah.
So he has this secret lair in some jungle somewhere, and he's trying to train Donkey Kong to be his servant.
Or some kind of zoo.
Or something. He's also gaining command of other creatures, like crocodiles and birds.
Yeah.
Are some like bent to his will that he's commanding them.